You keep saying you feel like Beyonce. You repeated that over and over again and then you started crying. You just kept saying, I feel like Beyonce. Why do you feel like Beyonce right now? I don't know either.
Yeah. What name was that?
Marissa, don't move. Don't move.
Oh. Why?
Because you're gonna make yourself sick. You have to sit there calmly.
Put your head back.
Oh. I know you're in there.
Stop
People
saying.
are asking where you've been.
Marissa, you're being silly.
They say have courage. And I'm trying to. What are we gonna do? Do you wanna build a snowman?
You're just doing this to annoy me.
Is it working?
Yes. You just asked me what's today's phone number. You just asked me what is today's phone number. I think you meant to say what is today's date. So yeah, Sushi talks now, but it's not so much like the Aristocats. It's more like Salem from Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Salem?
Yeah, no, but Sushi talks. You want to know what his voice sounds like?
Oh my god.
What?
I love that show. Mark to the rescue.
Hey guys, it's Marissa, and today's video is gonna be a surgery story for you guys about a lot of my health problems and surgeries that I've had in the past few years. And some of you guys probably don't even know about that just because you might be newer to the fam. And a lot of this stuff happened when my channel wasn't as big, so I just didn't really talk about it as much. I do have an old video about it. It's a little bit of a crazy story, and you know, a lot of things happened that I didn't get to talk about. It's gonna be kind of a longer, more personal video, so let's just jump right into it. A few years ago, I would get these horrible stomach attacks, and it wasn't like, you know, just an upset stomach or a cramp or something like that. It was just intense, severe pain. It would start by me feeling like I was about to vomit. That was the first feeling. And then I would start to break out into this cold sweat, and sometimes I would start like shivering or shaking. I would just try and get to like a barf bag nearby, which might sound really gross, or a toilet or something. I would be sitting on the ground or like crawling to the bathroom trying to get to the toilet. I would say most of the attacks that would happen, I usually didn't vomit, but some of them I did, and sometimes I would start drooling. I really didn't have any sort of like consciousness over what I was doing. I couldn't speak. Like if you were to have a conversation with me or ask me a question when I was having one of these attacks, I wouldn't be able to answer you. Maybe I could scribble something down or text something, but I would not be able to speak. The best way to like describe the pain would be my stomach being, I don't know, stabbed or ripped open or something like that. I would have these attacks for anywhere from like 30 minutes to 5 hours on the high end, and I would get them a few times a week. So I started going to the hospital because that's what you do when you have all of these severe attacks. You know, at first I thought, oh, maybe it's just a stomach ache or something, but what was happening definitely wasn't normal. So at the time, I had this regular doctor who was, you know, my everyday just general doctor for checkups and things like that. And I went to her, I would tell her about the problems, and I would go to her probably at least twice a month. So one time she told me, oh yeah, it's definitely stress related. Another time she told me, oh, it's definitely acid reflux that you have. Here's some acid reflux pills, omeprazole as it's called. I know, I took it for years. It's just a regular over the counter, like you could get it at CVS, Rite Aid, so it wasn't any like special thing that she was giving me. Another time she said, oh, maybe it's your diet. Are you eating fried foods? Cut out fried foods. And I'm a pretty healthy eater as it is. You know, occasionally I'll splurge, I'll have some french fries or something, but I did all the diet tips she suggested. Nothing helped. The nurses and her would just try and get me out. Oh, here's some more medication. Here's some more acid reflux pills. Here's this, here's that. Oh, just change your diet. And just to give you guys an idea of how much medication they would give me, this whole freaking bag of medication. They didn't care to understand what was going on. They didn't test me for anything, which is ridiculous. So after over a year of going to this doctor and her basically doing nothing for me, I actually went to the doctor with Shauna. She was really firm with the doctor and she was like, well, you need to refer her to another specialist, like a stomach specialist, a gastroenterologist as it's called. I feel like I know so many more medical terms just from everything that happened, but Shauna was like, you have to refer her to a gastroenterologist so she can get more tests done and we can find out what's wrong with her because these attacks are still happening and she needs help. And a lot of the times my mom would come with me to the hospital, and my mom's very like, she doesn't want to go against the doctor. She kind of thinks like, oh, the doctor knows best, the doctor's right. She was just like, well, you know, listen to the doctor must know best, they have this education. And she thought that because, you know, she had had acid reflux, that had to have been what I had. So I finally got referred to a gastroenterologist, and his name was Dr. V. Obviously, I'm not using his real name. And I really liked him at first. At first, he was like, you know, we're gonna fix this. We're gonna find out what's wrong. We're gonna help you get better. And he had a really like light, outgoing personality. He was super charismatic. At one time he was like, oh, you know, you look like one of the medical students I teach. Like, do I know you from somewhere? And I feel like when he first met me, he had this idea of what he thought was wrong with me. And it ended up being completely wrong. So I had a bunch of tests done, which, I mean, I do thank him for getting me those tests, you know, scans, x-rays, ultrasounds, which I didn't even know regular people could get ultrasounds. I thought that was just for pregnant women, but apparently people with stomach problems get ultrasounds. That's like a thing. Who knew? They also did several scopes, which is where they basically put you under anesthesia and then they put a camera stuck to like these tubes. They stick it all the way down your throat to see inside your stomach. So they did a few of those. This part I remember completely clear. I remember it as if it happened 10 minutes ago. I got a call from the hospital from Dr. V, and you know, I had done all of these different tests, so I was just waiting on the results of those tests. So he calls me and he says, okay, you know, everything looked good for the most part, but I do have to tell you something. He basically diagnosed a bunch of problems that I had with my organs and mainly my pancreas. And I'm not gonna get super like medical into this video just because it's not like a medical video, like it's more just about my story. Your pancreas is an organ towards the lower part of your stomach and it just helps regulate your blood sugar. It makes insulin. It's a very important organ. So after I found out what I had, I said to him, I was like, okay, so what do I do? Like what happens now? I was so confused. His words were, oh, don't worry, I think it's fine. You know, even though you have this problem, I don't think it should bother you. It's probably not gonna bother you that much. And, you know, you definitely don't need surgery. A lot of people who do have what you have get surgery to help their attacks. But since you're so young, I think that, you know, the problem, it'll just correct itself and everything will be fine. And I was like, okay, but I'm still having these attacks. So even after he diagnosed me with all of these problems, he basically just kind of told me it was all in my head. So I went and saw my regular doctor again, and this time I had a new doctor because my last one had moved to another hospital. So when I would go to the emergency rooms, they would give me these like painkillers to help relax my stomach when I was having an attack. And this new doctor said, no, I'm not going to give you a prescription, the one that they gave you in the emergency room, because you're so young, and I don't want to give you painkillers because you'll probably just take them even when you don't need them, and you'll probably get addicted to them. Those were pretty much her exact words to me. She thought that I was gonna abuse drugs or something, or take medication when I wasn't supposed to. And as a young person, I find this really upsetting, because it's like, oh, you're so young, you don't have any sort of health problems, you look healthy, that's all that matters. And, you know, not giving me medication that I needed because I looked healthy is super irresponsible, and it sucks. It sucks when nobody believes you. You're trying to tell people about a problem, you're trying to get help, you're doing everything in your power, and nobody will take you seriously and nobody will believe you. So at this point, I was referred to gastroenterology again, not by Dr. V this time, because Dr. V was just really mad. He was like, he was mad because I basically told him off, and I said, like, I do need this surgery. I know that I need the surgery. So when I went back to gastroenterology, I saw Dr. M this time, who was a female. Dr. V, you know, whatever. He didn't want to deal with me anymore because I guess I was just too demanding, and I wanted a surgery, and I wanted him to actually do something for me. So I saw Dr. M. I explained to her all of my symptoms. I was like, look, I think I need to have this surgery. And she said, ugh, you know, I don't think so. I mean, it'll probably make your condition worse, were her exact words. I don't think you need it. It's going to make your condition worse. But if you really want to, I can book you for the surgery. And those were her words to me. And because the doctors had been wrong pretty much for years up until this point, I said, yes, I want the surgery. Give me the surgery. I booked the surgery. It was for 3 months in advance because there was just a really long waiting list. And then a week later, I get a call from the hospital saying, oh yeah, Dr. M wanted me to call you and inform you that your surgery's been canceled because she doesn't believe that you really need the surgery, and she doesn't think it's going to help you. And this was like the most, I just wanted to bust out and cry at this point. And this was pretty much the point that I decided to give up on the hospital, because I had been trying for years to just communicate with them and be honest with them, be upfront with them, and just try and get this problem solved, and they just didn't care. So this was pretty much when I just kind of gave up. So a few months go by, and I'm continuing to have these attacks. You know, I have no more medication. I've stopped going to the hospital altogether at this point because they're just not doing anything, and it's just a waste of time and money to keep going someplace where they're just not doing anything for me. Then that's when the big attack happened. It was so bad. I was just on the floor. I could barely move. I was just clenching this trash can that my parents had brought me. And Shauna was out of town, by the way, because I know that if she had been at home that weekend, she obviously would have helped me too. But I just had my mom and my dad, and they were so they didn't know what to do. I didn't want to go to the hospital because I don't want to move when I'm just having an attack. I don't like to move around because that just aggravates it. So my parents actually, my dad brought me his socks and put them on me. It was it's so cringy thinking about it now because I couldn't move. I was just clenching. I just think it was funny because it was I've never worn my dad's socks before until that day, and they were these really long black socks too, and I'm pretty sure I never gave them back to him after that day. But anyway, so my dad puts his socks on me because they're trying to put shoes on me so that I can go to the hospital, just because I guess they didn't want me to walk barefoot. My parents literally had to physically dress me and put a sweater on me. It was very weird, and help me to the car. So we get to the hospital finally, and all I can remember is that the waiting room took forever. It felt like I was just sitting there waiting for so long, and it was a Friday night, so it was really crowded with, I don't know, people having emergencies. I had my barf bag that I was holding. It was I think it was a Target barf bag, just in case. And I was clenched over. There was drool pouring down my face. Oh my God. I hope to Lord there are no selfies of that day because it was just bad. I was just drooling like breathing like heavily. I couldn't talk. There's like this room that you go into where you answer questions before they take you to the doctors. I guess this is just standard for them. And there was this really mean, rude guy who was like, so, how long have these attacks been going on? And he was just asking me these questions, and bro, I'm in the middle of an attack. Like I couldn't answer him because I couldn't physically speak. And so I was just like I was just answering yes or no questions, shaking my head. And he was like, do you have some sort of problem? Like why aren't you answering my question? He was literally interrogating me, and I was like, oh my God, what an idiot. It must be his first day working in the emergency room or something, because I'm freaking keeled over, like trying to puke my guts out, like trying to puke my pancreas out or something, and this dude is freaking playing 20 questions with me. So when we finally saw the doctors, they drew blood, they did tests, they hooked me up to IVs and gave me morphine, which I hate morphine, by the way. It feels like freaking ice water running through your veins. Every time they gave me drugs, it just made me cringe because I was like, ugh. So the doctors told me that I had pancreatitis. My pancreas was super inflamed. It wasn't in good shape. My organs were failing. I had to stay in the hospital overnight. And so my mom's like freaking out, crying, calling my sisters, calling Shauna and Kimberly and all my other sisters, and like just crying, calling my dad. So this was a very severe form of pancreatitis, and it was causing all of my other organs to shut down. My kidneys were failing, everything was bad, and the ER doctors were telling me, why haven't you gotten surgery for this months ago? Why haven't you gotten surgery for this? Like, this is very neglectful. You don't know what you're doing to your health. And I was shocked because I wanted to scream at them. I've been trying to get this surgery for years, and your doctors canceled it on me. So this was probably the most frustrating part of the whole story. I had tried getting this surgery desperately, and the doctors, the surgeons had denied me. And so it wasn't until I was in the emergency room, dying, literally on my deathbed, that the doctors are like, why haven't you gotten this surgery? Why haven't you, like interrogating me as if I'm the one that doesn't care. And thumbs up if you're happy that I didn't die. I know that my fam will give this video a thumbs up. You know, I know that the haters gonna give this a thumbs down, but you know what? Haha, I lived. I win. So my fam, give this video a thumbs up if you're happy that your period queen didn't die. I'm happy that I didn't die, if it's any consolation. So yeah, thumbs up. So I ended up having to stay in the hospital for 4 days, and the worst part was I couldn't eat anything. I was hooked up to an IV the entire time. It wasn't until like the last day that they actually let me have food. And the worst part about this was that the only like good show they had on cable was the Food Network. So the entire time I was in the hospital, all I watched was like Chopped, Cutthroat Kitchen, like them making, oh, roasted chicken with this and that. And I was just, my mouth would water watching these shows and watching them make like donuts and cupcakes. It sucks having the only form of like liquid or food is an IV. And the IV made me pee like every 5 minutes, by the way. And I also remember that I was dating this guy at the time that I was in the hospital, and he was like, he didn't like that I was always so sick. He would always yell at me whenever I would have like a stomach attack or something. He would be like, well, you don't even care. Like, it's all your fault. It's all your fault that you're sick. Why don't you take better care of yourself? He would just yell at me, tell me things like that, and he didn't come visit me in the hospital the entire time. He lived like 10 minutes away, but that happened. And that was the last of that boyfriend. Like, anyone who yells at you for being sick, it's like, you think I'm choosing to be sick? I'm not. Another thing that really sucked was that I had to like pee in this special toilet, and nurses would have to come in and clean it like right in front of me. And it was, okay, I don't know if I'm gonna include this because it's really gross, but like I was always, the IV made me pee all the time, and I was too scared to pee a lot of the time because I was like, I knew that a nurse was gonna have to freaking come in and clean it right in front of me, and I was just gonna be like, I'm so sorry, ma'am. Like, I'm so sorry for peeing. So it wasn't until all of my organs were failing and I was basically told that I was was on my way towards a rapidly approaching death, that they were gonna give me the surgery, you know, the one that they had canceled a few months earlier. So this was a point where they finally agreed to give me the surgery. So I finally got out of the hospital, and the next week I went to go see Dr. M to like go over the surgery details, and this was the Dr. M that canceled the surgery a few months earlier. So I was prepared to like almost, I don't know, I don't want to say yell at her, but like be really mean to her and be like, it was your fault that I had this attack because you didn't give me the surgery and you didn't listen to me. Like, I was prepared to scold her and be like, I need this, blah, 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 and like shake my finger at her. When me and my mom and my sister Shauna went to the hospital, she was like, oh, so we're gonna get you the surgery. Like, she was trying to be all understanding, and it just made me so angry inside. Like, it took everything in me not to be mean to her and not to like yell at her, because now she was acting as if she had just been on board for the surgery the whole time, even though it was her fault that I had even had that last attack, because if she had just given me the surgery, it wouldn't have happened. I was prepared to be all mean to her when I first talked to her, and Shauna was like, don't be mean to her, be really nice, smile really big, because she's gonna be the one doing your surgery, so if you make her mad, then she might like mess up on purpose. She might give you a big old scar, make the scar just a little bit bigger to be mean. Like, she might could kill you. Technically, she could kill you. So I was just really like swallowing my pride and just like had to force a smile like, oh, hi, Dr. M. So the actual surgery part was really scary. Obviously, I don't even need to go into too much detail on this part because I think you guys can probably already imagine having a surgery. And I had this nurse named Marissa, the same name as me, same spelling, and literally she kept calling me Melissa the whole time. I was like, I literally have the same name as you, lady. And there was another nurse who was supposed to take my IV out, and she just ripped it out and like blood went everywhere, and I was like, thanks. So some of my nurses were really good and really sweet, but then some of them were really like bad. The actual surgery, yeah, like I said, it was super scary. Before, I was just sitting in this like waiting room for hours, and I remember there was this guy next to my bed, and he had this big like thick packet of questions like, in case of an emergency and you are dying, may we give you a blood transfusion? Like, asking me all of these questions like, if you die, do you have someone to leave all of your assets to? Like, literally asking me these questions, and it was scaring me because, you know, I'm that type of person where if you're like, oh, just in case you die, I'm like, what you mean, just in case I die? Like, is there a chance I'm gonna die? So I was super scared. I was like shaking and nervous. I was trying to chat up the people like around me. I was trying to talk to the nurses. Apparently, my main nurse, Marissa, was this like cute little Filipino lady, and apparently I kept saying after the surgery, you look like Jennifer Aniston, you look like Jennifer Aniston to her, because I was on so many drugs that like I kept telling her, you look like Jennifer Aniston. And after I had had my surgery, Shauna was like in the hospital, and she kept trolling me. Like, she kept telling me like crazy things like, oh my god, our cat Sushi can talk, or like, this person loves you, or something like that. She kept telling me weird things, and supposedly I would go, oh, really? And like, I believed her, because like I would just believe anything. And I felt like Beyonce a whole bunch of times. I actually do remember that. I remember crying over saying that I felt like Beyonce, and then whenever Shauna would be like, you're not Beyonce, I would start crying. I'd go, don't say that, don't say I don't look like Beyonce. Like, I swear, the thing to make me sad when I just had surgery, tell me I don't look like Beyonce, and I'll just start crying. I'll start bawling my eyes out. I don't know why. So I had the surgery. It ended up being fine. I had really big scars after that were like big and red and super painful. Sneezing for the first like 2 months after my surgery, oh my god, it felt like my stomach was being ripped apart. It was so painful. Whenever I would sneeze or even cough, I would just clench my stomach for like 5 minutes because of the pain. But other than that, it was a pretty like decent recovery. I recovered pretty fast. So I still do get some attacks occasionally. I just don't get them as often and they're not as bad. But I do still have to take medication for it and I'm kind of working my way through it. So I do have an appointment with my favorite doctor ever, not Dr. M, next month. So I'm gonna see her next month and we'll see what happens. But overall, I've healed pretty good, and the only thing that's kind of messed up is like my belly button because of the scars. But anyway, so yeah, I hope you guys, well, if you guys sat through this entire video, then you're definitely true fam. I commend you because this is definitely a long video. And thumbs up if you guys don't want me to die or you're happy that I didn't die. I know I'm happy that I didn't die, so I'll be giving this video a thumbs up. And I love you guys. Mwah. Big kiss and bye guys!